Hello and welcome to this talk on the gift of the imperfect self. Today all of us listening here have the common ground of our love of the reclaimed vintage and the beauty in their imperfections. And let's think about it. It's something that we aren't taught to see, but that we learn through time, people and places. What started your discovery, your curiosity, perhaps nostalgia or a deep sense of adventure to different places and different times? And each see this beauty with different eyes, and that's what makes choosing such unique things such a fascinating reflection of your personality and your story. Today we look a little bit deeper as to how we can use these eyes for igniting our joy, creativity, even life's work, and most fundamentally our well-being. It is a gentle inquiry of the mind and our behaviours, so I encourage you to be open and receptive to what might just change the way you spend the rest of your day. So I'm Lizzie, the founder of We Resonate, where we nurture and energise the unique self, our imaginations, and awareness of innate beauty. I do this within We Resonate in a few ways. With that core value, the brand started and is now known for the one-of-a-kind dresses, kimonos, and collections made from beautifully patterned vintage silks. I source these silk scarves from global markets, from vintage collectors and sellers all over the world. These pieces speak to unique beauty because each one is different, like ourselves. I compose the patterns together almost like an oversized quilt, and I love seeing how every customer is drawn to a different combination of patterns. Each one is made in South London by my wonderful seamstress. And it is this attention to craft and detail and connection to maker that also resonates so deeply within my clients and was so fundamental in starting this business. Now, at the heart of We Resonate is the purpose to create change. I left my role as head designer at Alexander McQueen about 4.5 years ago and started We Resonate maybe 4 years ago after I'd had my daughter after my maternity leave. And during this time, when I was working at McHugh, I had been surrounded by such incredible fashion and depth of story within the collections. It was time now to hone my experience into a different way of fashion. I had sustainability knocking on the door. I had a daughter to think about how she would grow up and see the world, and it was time to step up to that. Now at McQueen, we would make pieces from vintage fabrics that would inspire whole collections. These storytelling pieces held beauty that we all seek in the reclaimed and the vintage. Story and soul, the essence of their beauty. I believe these pieces are what fashion is about, and I set to create these pieces to bring straight to women globally, as so often the magic is so lost in the production of new clothes. This also meant I could offer dresses that didn't have the negative impact so rife in today's fashion industry. I could also be part of cultivating a lost impact of fashion, one of identity and personality. Today, however, I'll speak to the other side of We Resonate, the one grown from hundreds of conversations and sparked from the events of the Rethink gathering that I held in September 2018. And so the gift of imperfect self. When we can see so clearly our love of imperfect things, it is an opportunity to use this skill to ignite creativity and increase a sense of peace within our minds. The negative impacts of perfectionism may be something that you have, deny, or have worked on. It's rife in our society. Our expectations and inner voices. Let's explore why perhaps imperfection may instead be something to work towards. Linking back to my work at McQueen, a brand famous for its attention to detail and depth of beauty, but also at the core, Lee McQueen was inspired always by the beauty of imperfection. So much so that often I remember and still see the effort that designers and makers go through to make something look old, worn, or imperfect. And that is the beauty of McQueen, the painstaking hours of making something look imperfect, the daring to create a beauty that only time and nature can. This essence is the hardest thing to recreate, But where can we find this essence flowing so freely in abundance, in its full nature? Yes, in the reclaimed and in things worn with history, but also in ourselves. Again, that is a beauty that only time and nature can create. What if it was how we show up imperfectly that was the magic of our success? There has been so many talks and nods to know how to find our confidence and success. I'm talking of finding it truly, effortlessly, innately, when we really feel integrated with it, when it feels like a natural ease, one that includes accepting what we consider our flaws, one we know cannot be taught but must be practiced for ourselves. As hard or easy as that may be, it is a journey. How do you act when you want to be sure something is perfect? Is it painstaking or really something you enjoy? Let's not question that perfectionism actually can be a good thing if that's what drives you. But underneath, if you dare to look, is there something else underneath it that is perhaps stopping you doing something you really want to? Are the places where you feel that you can show up fully perhaps the ones you feel more comfortable? At home with a friend, talking to yourself, singing in the shower? And is it true that when we feel more comfortable, we are in more flow? If comfortable doesn't resonate, let's use the word inspired. When you feel freely inspired, what are you doing? Is that place of inspiration or comfort a place where perfection is being judged? I would assert no. It's like when you're doing your work on a computer and someone's looking over your shoulder. What works best? I'm not saying that you'll never be judged or even care. And to be clear, we have no power over other people's thoughts, only our own. But when we hold ourselves in acceptance of our imperfections and show up more fully because of it, I have a feeling that that has much more vibrancy than showing up perfect. This era of work and business has been called one of the human and of the unique. The generation before and before that was one of service and time, whereas today it is the business of showing up and of persona and of what we can uniquely bring to this world. Perhaps you have experienced one of the benefits of accepting an imperfection. You've saved time, had more instant feedback, more growth, more conversations, more sharing. Maybe you're more relaxed and then that can give more creativity. I mean, which artist would ever start something with the need to do it perfectly? And as an artist too, it gives great relief to me to feel instead as a vessel, detached from the outcome, but one to transport an idea into life and trusting the way I do it. There's a reason behind exercises such as drawing with the opposite hand, eyes shut, ripping up, and continuing anyway. Do you remember those lessons in an art class? When we can let go of the need or fear of creating masterpieces, creativity, play, and solutions can flood in and masterpieces evolve. When we can integrate our worst fears of judgment of self or others, we can emerge in life with no limits. We can no longer stand in our way. In spirituality, we call this shadow. In psychology, it's called vulnerability, or some might call it vulnerability. Most famously by Brené Brown, who works within the top industries in business. Both bring the same wondrous, most called upon, most essential ingredient in the experience of life: courage. And when we make space to see the beauty in living, when we remember we are part of nature, a living thing, it becomes clear that we cannot compete with the productivity of a computer, but instead prosper from the cycles of nature. Computers are without the imagination, the ability to spark genius. That within us comes from the ability to allow for winter, for rest, because of course everything in nature has a cycle. It flourishes, it dies back, it rests, it regrows, as we see in the seasons. For one, my garden has grown back so much bigger than last year because of the rain. What an example of how we label something, the rain, not associated with a perfect day. when actually there lies so much beauty within it. So I ask you, what season might you be in right now? Do you need to rest in winter? Are you ready to regrow in spring? Are you full of flourishing? Are you in the heat of summer? Or do you need to let go of what no longer serves you? And see what has come before this feeling and expect what might come after. And what is the balance? It's in the same eye as the one you see the reclaimed with, the one of practice, a sense of adventure and discovery. The best way to see the power of it is in hindsight, in reflection. It cannot be taught, only experienced. When I ran the Rethink gathering, I was so in flow with what I had to deliver, but it was a live event. I read from notes, I had acne, the space wasn't as beautiful as I would have liked. But what did it give? The notes respected people's time to get what I needed across. The chance I took with live interviews brought a magic of imperfection, one of the beauties of collaboration and conversation. I challenged beauty standards of perfection with my acne so others with it could see potentially that they could lead. The space was abuzz with inspired women who most likely prospered from the space's vulnerability and imperfection. I mean, in essence, it was so beautiful. And that was the most innate beauty I could see that day. That and what it did, it inspired in people to deepen into their unique self. And that's the purpose, isn't it? I held that event to inspire this. And if I had worried more about the imperfection, I wouldn't have been in my flow to tell and inspire what I needed to say. So why continue this work, or why begin it? This is a discovery we cannot suddenly adjust to. It is too ingrained in our psyches, in our subconscious, in our habits. What a gift are the beauties and possibilities that can transpire here, all in knowing that we are free only when we acknowledge our imperfections. It's almost like seeing the other side of the imperfection, what is possible when we embrace it, or when we challenge it, when we explore it. That drives the self-work. In my eyes, the most imperative work, because in time, we can then do what we want more easily. We can make change more easily. When the perfectionist expectations fall, in any level, we stop judging ourselves, holding ourselves to perfection. Not only that, but crucially, we begin questioning our judgments about others and start seeing what once we saw as their imperfections and felt anger or frustration towards are actually their vulnerabilities, their hidden potential, and in most cases their beauty. And this only evokes something which is good, something that the world truly needs, which is more compassion. I invite you to see this love of imperfect things and self as a perspective, a way of approaching everything, a quality of the human existence, and a way of living more peacefully and creatively. If you are curious in that discovery of self, you can join more than 100 others who have taken my workshop Centered Self. This is an on-demand 5-hour digital workshop to do at your own pace, in your own time, in your own space. Alternatively, as well, you can book a call with me on my website. If you're also curious in the dresses and collections and more of my story, you can visit the website we-resonate.com. You can join the newsletter, which gives little insights into what the workshop, coaching, and the creative process behind We Resonate entails, or you can join me on Instagram. If you hadn't guessed, I'm a creative empowerment coach, as well as a founder and designer, a path and a skill that I found when I discovered more about my imperfections. I'll leave with a quote from the great teacher Carl Rogers. I let myself know I am enough, not perfect, because perfect wouldn't be enough. Thank you. Please get in touch with anything that sparked your interest and have a beautiful day.